Welcome to PolyCast, a Civilization podcast focused on game strategy.
DanQ.
Makahlua.
TheMeInTeam.
QNL.
Guys are such jerks. This is where you say, yes, guys are terrible, Lisa.
Yes, Lisa, guys are terrible. That's what you wanted, right? Welcome to PolyCast episode 116. I'm Daniel Quick, more commonly known as DanQ on the forums, and I'm joined by Makahlua.
Who is always needing more caffeine, yes.
TheMeInTeam, also known as Philip.
I like all types and sizes.
Okay, and QNL, also known as Lisa.
It's episode 16.
Alright, so we're going to be starting off in the realm of Civilization 5, and there was some news announced this week about another Civilization 5 patch on its way, a continuation in a sense of the considerable patches that we first saw in the February turn March patch, and there is no ETA on this patch because Greg Labs, the 2K community manager for Civilization, says he doesn't want a repeat of what happened with the February to March patch. But it's to be the first of two substantial patches, and this one is focusing a fair bit on gameplay and AI. But I think, why don't we just address kind of the preface that went with this from Civilization 5 producer Dennis Shirk at Firaxis Games, where he alluded to the next patch, which will include a quote-unquote much-requested addition to the game that we'll be discussing in more detail very soon, unquote.
Mixed multiplayer?
Replay.
Yes, I think it's the replay.
It better be multiplayer, too, because this is getting frustrating.
I have a feeling that multiplayer is in a patch to come after this one. I think it's going to be the word addition. The word addition.
It's a patch after the patch after that. That's like Christmas.
Yeah, I'll wait that's like almost a full year. Or is it a full year? It is a full year after
closing on
we
it.
get to October, it will be a full year.
Finally have a complete game, like 12 months later. And,
Exactly.
it's probably not even going to be complete after that. They're going to release, like, more patches. I'm seriously not playing this game until, like, they have all the patches that make the game okay. Because I see that there's some repairs to balance issues. And you know that it's just going to be a completely different game again. And, man, I don't know.
Well, getting into some of the changes, I do play the game from time to time. I'm still frustrated with it, but I do play it. I like to stay up with what's going on. And although I don't invest a lot of my time into it, 'cause it's not something I enjoy a great deal right now, I do play Civ 5 from time to time. But the AI fixes, I really can't comment on those until we actually see them in practice. Sometimes that stuff is very noticeable, sometimes it's like the same thing, and really you can't tell before that. So I can kind of graze over the AI, but I'm glad to see that they're still putting effort into their AI, because that really stopped off pretty soon after the release of Civilization 4, so that's something I gotta credit them for keeping up with. I saw some things in the user interface, actually a lot of things in the user interface, and it's good they're looking there. I'm still looking for the hotkeys. Where are the hotkeys? But thank you for working on the UI at all. Definitely, though, the biggest gripe is always going to be multiplayer until they fix it. Fix the ability to move after hitting enter, and fix basically more than 3 or 4 people working at all. And certainly then the game will have gone a long way. But as Lisa points out, it's pretty frustrating that we're looking at over half a year already with some of the basic features of a game, these days still not intact.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know. I feel like, yes, they are working on the user interface, and it is definitely a lot more bullet points than we've ever gotten for user interface. I mean, we usually get like 3 in a patch. But I would say like about 30% of these were actually really needed, and then others were just not even stuff I noticed when I was playing the game.
A lot of it is trim. I would like to see more functional changes in the user interface that allow you to play more efficiently. But that's just my preference because they really did not streamline it for that initially.
Yeah, like one thing that is kind of I don't know, like I don't really see the necessity of, for example, a combat preview. Bonus versus cities is now renamed to penalty versus cities when it's less than 0. I mean, I understand it if it's negative, you know. In fact, it might confuse me if you change it to penalty and change it to a positive number. I mean, maybe that's just me. I feel like they did a lot of work on achievements too, and honestly, I just don't care. I mean, yeah, they're fun, but it seems like a lot of work that went into these achievements, which is just pretty much a side dish as far as I'm concerned.
I don't know. You get the feeling that people who do the achievements are different from people doing like user interface or AI. I don't know if that's the case or not. I've never been big on achievements either, but some people really like them and they go for everything. In fact, some people probably have everything by now. So, yeah, it's not a big deal for me, but it's nice to see that they put stuff like that. Also noting a couple other things such as Diplo, research agreement change, deal adjustment, accidentally treating your luxury items as strategic items doesn't do that anymore. Let's see. There was one in there that was kind of funny where you could accidentally trade away all your resources.
Oh, yes. Yeah, tied into the AI accidentally treating your luxury items as strategic items. This is quoting. This essentially prevented the AI from ever countering the deal with a request for a strategic resource from the other player. It just resubmitted the counter offer requesting more luxury items, which the player could not see. If accepted, the player would realize too late that all of their luxury resources were gone.
Why am I suddenly at 11 billion unhappy?
I think a bit of a preface. There are a number of keyword activations on PolyCast, and Lisa brought up achievements, so I'm on a boat.
I was going to say,
everybody look at me.
To be effective, I love I'm on a boat, but I'm not trying to get every achievement. I'm glad they're fixing the ones that are broke, so maybe I can get a couple of those now.
Just having a look at from the patch notes here, just going back over some things here. I went through each of the general headings and picked out the ones that I thought were of general interest.
Oh, does this mean there's a top 10 list?
No. 10 list. I didn't mean to get you excited unnecessarily, Lisa. I'm sorry.
I don't think excited was quite the word for that, but okay.
So gameplay, city management. When assigning a specialist to a building, make sure we don't accidentally assign more citizens than we have available. Here's a big one that actually that generated a question and a response, which was prevent units with the no melee promotion from capturing cities, archer catapults, etc. But this does not apply to empty barbarian camps. Was the question and the answer. Culture. Keep the current culture level of the city after it is captured. The culture production will go to 0, but the cultural level must remain the same, or else a large city will be able to acquire tiles at the same rate as a smaller city.
Yeah, but I don't completely understand that because, so the culture level remains the same, so the city just,
It keeps its current borders, but it doesn't reset the culture entirely to 0, so it won't start back at the point where it could get like its next tile in 10 culture points.
Yeah, essentially it prevents cities that have been long established from growing as if they're new cities because they were captured. It's not a big deal, but it's certainly a good change. I have no issue with them fixing that.
And then also under gameplay, some later game stuff, unless you're an advanced start person perhaps. Air units must go inside a city to upgrade, and no sneaky I'm on a carrier in the city either.
Oh, no.
I love that.
It's not a paraphrase.
I love that that's not a paraphrase.
That's not my editorialization.
This time.
And stealth bombers can now get promotions. User interface. Multiplayer maps added to single player as well. Thank you. I generally find, especially in the group of people that I play with, Civilization 5 and multiplayer, as might have been alluded to a little earlier, not so hot. but I do enjoy the single-player game, so I like now that I'm going to have some of the multiplayer options that were multiplayer only on single-player as well. I like that. The one that had me snickering under the user interface, notifications for denouncement or friendship are only... Oh, no, that's the wrong one. Oh, that's a blooper. It's coming up later. But notifications for denouncement or friendship are only displayed if the active player has met one of the teams.
Oh, so when we don't have so much of the unknown player has denounced an unknown player.
Gee, I built the Oracle? I didn't know. How did I learn this? Let's see. Here's the snicker one. Diplomacy. Player cannot publicly denounce a civ multiple times in the same turn.
Oh, yeah.
What?
I didn't know you could do that.
I know, that's kind of the thing with this patch list. It's like, okay, let's go actually see all these issues in action that we've before they patch the game. Go, 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 go.
Can I multiply denounce my fellow multiplayer players in the same turn?
Game will crash.
Taking your turn will make the game crash in multiplayer.
Here's an interesting one. Pre-game. Prevented escape key from being used to corrupt starting parameters while starting a tutorial game.
Yeah, were people doing that? I mean, I had no idea this was going on.
There's a tutorial?
Must have been a report on that or something. Wow, that's just...
I don't know, that seems pretty niggly to me.
We already talked about the Diplo issue. Oh, and the research agreement thing was don't allow research agreements if one party has finished the tech tree.
Why would you need a research? I don't get it. What do they go to if you have one?
Well, you get future tech adds to your score.
Oh, yeah. I don't see why you can't have a research agreement for that.
If you want to spend the gold and you can find another civ that has enough gold and is actually willing to do a research agreement, then...
Yeah, I really don't see the necessity of that one. It's not really going to make a big difference in practice. People who are running future tech and spamming research agreements probably have the game in hand already, but it does seem a little bit silly as a change.
There's this one here under World Builder. Add a default map size dropdown so that players can set the default number of civs that they want to play on a map. Could we take that actually and put that in the multiplayer realm so we could have more, so we could add more civs than the standard size, the standard setting would allow? Because that really does help in terms of speeding up the game, especially when in Civilization 5 things tend to go a little slower. And someone obviously didn't... Oh, Lisa didn't like my comment because she dropped from the call. Oh, there you're back, I think.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. I figured you didn't like my comment, and that was your...
Rage quit.
Rage quit, just kidding. I like, actually, also, there was a comment from Montov on the 2K forums in response to 2K Greg saying, I should have an ETA to announce soon. So his question was, what's the ETA of the ETA?
ETA.
You knew it had to happen.
What's the ETA of the ETA about the ETA?
Yes, this actually isn't a podcast. This is a podcast about us doing this podcast. And then we will have a commentary on potentially doing a podcast about doing a podcast. That's coming soon.
And we have no idea when that podcast will come out. No,
exactly.
But we can tentatively say that we'll let you know soon.
All right, so anything else on the I will just say that with the multiplayer issues aside, which are absolutely substantial, of course, and we've talked about that before, I'm happy to see that more significant patches are on the way. For Civilization 5, still a ways to go. I still think the focus, of course, here is single player. There were a few multiplayer minor things that actually came up under one of the heading or another, but it's progress anyway. We're still working on it.
Yeah, I mean, I generally like the direction that they're going with this patch, versus like the last February patch when, I don't know, I don't remember a lot of useful things that happened in that patch, to tell you the truth. So I feel like it's a step in the right direction. Of course, this is the first part of a 2-part update, and of course we have no idea when the next part will come out and what changes will come with that. So I guess we'll see. I mean, the second part could even reverse some of the changes in the first part, which would really frustrate me and, of course, a lot of other people. But we'll see how it goes.
The people are the heroes now.
And so I think with that, we will move on to open mic. We actually received some email, and I think actually the first one we got said, "Sorry to hear that no one is writing in anymore. I guess I'll do what I can to change that." We commented last episode that we don't even receive hate mail anymore. Other than the hate mail we write to ourselves. Wait, what?
Someone has an issue.
Mackie just thinks I have an issue. I like to think. This is from Patrick M. I give your email out on the show, but I'm not certain you want me to do that, so I'm not going to do that. But bear with me here. He says, I'm relatively new to the Civ series. Started when CivRev was coming out. I really wasn't into computer gaming after that. But I tried the demo out and really enjoyed it. So I got it and still enjoyed it, and enjoyed it most on my iPad now while laying in bed before sleep, although my wife doesn't so much. I got so into it, I went out and bought the Civ 4 Complete Collection and also enjoyed that very much and more so than CivRev. Then Civ 5 came out and I got that, and honestly I haven't even booted up Civ 4 since. But the point behind my email is I find I'm not a very good player. I struggle against the medium difficulty at any Civ game I play, and I enjoy playing Civ even with the computer beating me probably 6 to 7 times out of 10. I like the challenge. But I can't help but wonder if it's bad habits that I might have developed. I have strategy guides, and honestly I don't play all of the time. I have a newborn and a very hyper dog, stupid real life. But they don't click as well as listening to people, to me anyways. And there's no way to have all the information that a good Civ player, I'm sure, has. So just wondering if maybe you guys and gals have any new player suggestions or good or bad habits that new players or ones that can't seem to get should develop or avoid. Thanks for your time. Love the podcast, and keep up the good work. I'll just start by saying that the first piece of advice that actually a former guest co-host Solver had was don't buy the game in the first place. So since that is no longer an option...
Eat your life.
That's pretty good coming from Solver.
Yeah.
Don't do it. It's only addiction.
Since you've already been consumed... Yes, what advice? And of course, the advice could be, as you said, about good or bad habits that new players should develop or avoid. I like how it can be a positive list, do this, or a negative list, don't do that, or a combination of them.
Well, without knowing in detail what exactly he's doing wrong or right, I guess we'll just have to stick to generalizations. I don't know. One thing, I feel kind of helpless on this because I haven't played Civ 5 in such a long time. And I don't know if this rule applies as well, but I still think that you should still build, each one of your cities next to a food resource or, relatively close to a food resource.
Yes.
That can be changed to luxury resource.
But, yeah.
Partially kidding.
And of course, the avoiding flatland when defending, I mean, that's pretty obvious. Trading posts can be great for revenue, although I think I've seen some people really overbuild them.
Let's get away from all the specific stuff right now because really we don't know what this, we really don't know what's going on in the play of this person. And I'll start off with a piece of advice. And really just every person that plays a game, be it Civ or any other game, is going to have some level of play that they're going to reach where they're going to enjoy it versus stop enjoying it if they start trying to get better at it. And then it's going to stop being fun. So, part of my question in response to this email is, are you really trying to get better at the game? Or are you going to work to iron out these habits, whatever they are that are bad, emphasize the good ones, repeat the games, watch what top players do in the forums, read through strategy and tips, and keep refining your game over and over and over again while trying to mimic good players? Certainly, that can be done, and you can yourself become a very good player that way. But for a lot of people, they start to set off trying to get better at a game like this, and it stops being fun at them for some point. And they may or may not realize that before they invest a lot of time. So my answer is it really depends on what you want from the game. And if you're enjoying it now, there's no reason in particular to correct bad habits. And certainly if you want to know which habits are good or bad, then using a resource like Civ Fanatics, where there are quite a few game summaries available is going to help your cause with that. Unfortunately, Civ 5 Strategy and Tips isn't quite as active there, but there's still plenty of games to be found if you go on there to see how people are beating the higher difficulties. And that includes the Let's Plays online as well by quite a few people. And there's resources out there to see what are good and bad habits. And if you really care, you can find out for yourself to some extent what other people are doing differently from you, and which of those things that are different are effective. I'm pretty sure that's how everyone gets better at the game over time. It's just an issue of how much you focus on that on a game-to-game basis. And in terms of that, again, my advice is, keep the game fun for you, because that was the point of it from the start.
I agree wholeheartedly with what the MeInTeam said. Well, I also think that the Let's Plays are really useful, especially if the person can explain what they're doing and why they're doing it, and of course if they're at a higher level than you, because I don't really see the point if they are at a lower level. You're not going to really improve things. I mean, I guess assuming that your goal is to improve things, there are forum games, I think. Yes, for Civ 5, like he mentioned, yes. So those can be really useful because there are write-ups of the same game that people have played over 10 or 15 different times, 10 or 15 different ways, that is. And I don't know, I think it's really nice to see the variation. The one thing about the forum games is that I find that if you post your own summary relatively early, then you will have people replying and commenting on your strategy, which can be really useful. But if you're one of the last people to post your game, then chances are nobody will really reply and say anything. If you truly do want to get better, I don't know, I suggest getting involved in the community, assuming you have the time, because it can be very time consuming. And if not, I mean, even watching Let's Plays can be time consuming, but for me, that's been the most efficient way of learning how to play in a different way.
I think just to add just a little bit to that, we mentioned the Let's Plays and the forums, and also posting your own game to get feedback on it. If you prefer something more written of somebody else, kind of a written form Let's Play, even though it probably wouldn't be to the same extent, look for AARs, or after action reports, that you see in the community. Some of them are very kind of like straightforward and technical. Other ones have more some creative writing associated with it, with humor, etc. So combine that kind of thing, and then, as you said, yes, getting involved in the community, asking questions, taking feedback in, trying different settings as well. And the fact, actually, in your message here, Patrick, that you said that you enjoyed the challenge, and with the computer beating you probably 6 times out of 10, that's not dissuading you. We know we had a topic earlier about, when you're defeated, do you play the game until the end? And most of us are like, nah, I already know that. But if you're not getting discouraged by that, as you said already, that's great, because, especially in a single-player game, I can't remember. I wish I could remember the name of the guest co-host that said it, but, if you had a bad game of single-player, who cares? Nobody else knows. Unless you tell about it. So, I think we've got all the bases covered here.
Yeah, and one other thing is that, he says that he's at a medium level, which I don't know what that means. I mean, does that mean like Prince or Monarch or something? And if it does mean that, I don't think there really is anything wrong with staying at a Prince or Monarch level, through your playing the game. I mean, I do know people, me, that have been on Monarch for like months and even years, and I don't really see a problem with it.
Yeah, if you're happy with whatever difficulty level you're playing at, whether it's, from pre-settler,
Pre-settler is Dan's difficulty, listeners. Specifically, it's exclusive, and no one else is allowed to play it. But they're thinking about bringing it out for
invite only.
Possibly.
It's only enabled if your username is DanQ.
Yeah, but it can tell if you're not actually DanQ, so don't try to cheat.
There was actually a PS that I hadn't read yet, and I'm going to put this in the chat here. A question to ponder: what is the sanitary landfill? Do they clean the trash before dumping it? I guess that's like,
Maybe it's because things are sanitary as a result of putting things in the landfill? No, I mean, things outside the landfill are sanitary as a result of putting things in the landfill, which itself is not sanitary. but is the cause of sanitation.
Yeah, you know what? I think that's as good as answer as any. It was just kind of like a non sequitur comment. Just kind of threw it out there, but I like it though. It's like the whole thing's on this one track, and then it's like
I know
the headlights.
Wow, Patrick, I sure hope that we answered most of your questions.
Yeah, and I hope you don't regret writing in. So.
It's sanitary in the relative sense, yes.
Bad experience. We'll never do again. F minus.
And so I guess that takes us on to our second piece of email. Yes, we actually got 2 emails in the span of about a week.
Oh my god!
I know, which is
it's like 2 great tastes that taste great together.
It's a swirl.
Hey, there you
sure
go.
To keep flooding Dan with emails. He likes that.
I'd like to suggest a Civ 4 topic for PolyCast. I made a thread for if I should cottage or farm floodplains. You probably would not put it on the show. I'm pessimistic, but I can hope. Well,
your hopes have been answered.
Yes, indeed.
You may not like the answer, but it has been answered. So I'm going to put the... there's also a PS. We'll save that because that's also a bit non sequitur. Lisa... That's a major inside joke. Includes a poll. Good for you, Creature Boy, when you submit a thread that has a poll that has a 25% modifier for the likelihood of it getting on the show. I think I mentioned that before. Bears worth mentioning again.
Just include a top list and you're even better.
Well, that's 100%. I mean, right now, yay, more commerce means more research. Screw the 3 food. That's a quote, is winning with 3/4 of the votes. And as for nay, farms increase our food supply, save up for 7 years of good and 7 years of famine, as well as sleep is for the weak. I don't know, kind of the, like the banana option from a poll or the broccoli option from We Play Civ. You want to vote in the poll, but you really don't want to answer the question. Again, tied at 10 and 12%, respectively.
I thought that was really funny. That farms is tied with sleep for the weak. I don't know. I mean, people seem to choose the, cottaging the floodplains over the farming. So I guess people are choosing money over food and sleep. And this is actually a question that I wondered about myself a few times, just because, you see a bunch of floodplains and you're sitting there and you're like, wow, that's a lot of unhealth, but that's also a lot of food. So in general, I will cottage floodplains, but I'm kind of a cottage-heavy person in general. But I find that, since floodplains are always adjacent to a river, it's usually advantageous to have them, especially if you build them early, and especially if you're financial.
Yeah, sometimes I get
loves financial.
What, financial doesn't love you?
Financial's overrated. It's fine, but it's still overrated.
Financial heard that. I'm going to tell it.
I'll slap that in Financial's face, back and forth.
Oh, so badass.
Okay, then. Well, sometimes I get a city where I only have like 1 or 2 floodplains, but I still have a lot of river squares. And on those ones, I'll probably food that if there's not something else good nearby for a food resource. But when you have a city that's mostly floodplains, well, I still might end up 1 or 2 squares as farms, but everything else is cottages because technology is win.
QFT, quoted for truth.
There's no, unfortunately, there's no rule for this. You're not going to get an answer that's going to be like, I always cottage these, always farm these. There is a bias towards cottaging it, and in my opinion, that's appropriate, because what tends to happen is usually the riverside cities are your best to be specialized for commerce anyway. So if you have a fairly large empire, or even just a middle-sized empire, these are still probably going to be your best commerce sites, the ones that will be most efficient in providing you commerce. And as a result, when you're specializing a city that way, you're going to want to put a lot of your cottages into, a couple cities. that have all the commerce. That way, when you build your multipliers, it's more efficient. Your multipliers are being applied on more commerce, and that commerce is centralized. So you don't need a lot of markets; you just need a few, for example. Floodplains really tend to come in locations where you are going to be picking the commerce, but that's not always the case. Like Mackie said, you might see like 1 or 2 floodplains along with maybe like a pig and a corn tile, and you'll want to run specialists there because you don't have any other city that's better for running specialists. So you want some great person points. You're not going to get anything better than that in a lot of cases. Actually, that can be up plus 8 to 10 food. That's actually really good. So that would be a good great person farm.
Yeah, and I mean, I could even see it as a possible. I mean, if you're living if your capital is kind of food poor, and you need somewhere to kind of whip efficiently, and you don't have a lot of food resources around, that could always be a possibility if you farmed it and just whipped.
Yes, if you get the Plains cow glitch, I probably wouldn't cottage that one either. I said farm that to have some food at all.
Yeah, I mean, people are talking about, using this, farm floodplains in combination with a brown cottage. And I mean, I gotta say that in general, I just don't like brown cottages.
That's a terrible idea, by the way. I'm sorry. It is.
Okay, go ahead.
No, the farming, trying to farm a floodplain just to grow into a brown cottage, you might as well just work a good tile from the start. There's really no reason to be farming a floodplain just to work a brown cottage. Even a specialist is better.
Yeah, one good point that somebody made was that floodplains are higher yield than average tile, yielding 3 food? Yeah, 3 food and 1 gold. So it's definitely a tile that you want to work right away, and if you have it automated, the city will work it right away in most cases. So in general, that is the place that you will want to improve first. And I guess that might be another slight reason to cottage, because if that is one of the first improvements you're building, then might as well have more turns letting it grow if you're going to build it first.
Also, it does get mentioned by Aaron on Leader in the thread, but those aren't the only 2 improvements you can put on a floodplain. There are also workshops and watermills available, and watermills can, in some situations, be your best bet, especially if you're trying to convert to hammers, like late in a space victory. I could easily see using either of those. Even if you're not.
Really?
Yeah, if you're looking for just straight production, say you're very late in the game, you're about to get up for a spaceship, there's really not a lot of downside. Yeah, you'll lose a little bit of commerce, but you get hammers that you can't rush by into any spaceship part, so there's really no way to increase your production short of switching the tiles over. And Watermill, I believe, adds 2 hammers by then, because you get the one from the initial Watermill and then one from a tech along the way. And they're actually not bad commerce either. Same thing with windmills that late in the game. They're pretty solid. So you can definitely switch tiles over to get more efficient production towards the end, and it's not like your workers have much else to do at that point.
I guess, for the level that he's playing at, he says he's playing at Noble, I would just say cottage it. That would be the default.
Yeah, probably. When you're at that level, it's probably best to do that.
And just to add to it, you can also take into account some civic options as well in terms of, trade-offs between, hammers and food, like going cast for the extra hammer from workshops, or later on state property plus 1 fruit shop, watermills.
Yeah, of course.
You can have that enter into your thinking as well.
And if you choose a different path, like say going, emancipation and free speech, then, that changes things as well.
Dan loves it when we go emancipation.
I love it too.
Yeah. Everyone loves that.
Oh, sorry, I got quiet because I was writing some hate mail to Phil and Lisa. Let me just...
Oh.
Like how Lisa got dragged into that.
You should... well, I hope you write a nice PS for me.
It doesn't have to have anything to do with what you were previously discussing.
I know. What is with that?
Running theme of these emails, which I like.
Yeah.
Yeah, so okay, let's kind of set this up here. What is the PS to this email? It was from CreatureBoy11, which is DanQ. Thank you for this wonderful little thing. Well, I had a little help from friends.
A lot of help from your friends.
I don't know if I would call PolyCast little, knowing that we've been around for 5 seasons, and I've been around for 2. But, yeah.
Wait, he was referring to Poly... Never mind.
My little help from my friends. What? No, you said... Oh, yes!
No.
My lover, you gotta get with my friend.
Oh.
Started again.
Yes!
Sorry,
Yes.
Maggie.
Singing epidemic.
You were too young for that song when it came out.
Thanks, Lisa. Now, since you sang too, you've authorized it.
No, that did not authorize it.
Yes.
Well,
But it requires me to sing at some point, possibly.
Ugh.
Come on, Mac. You just join in and you could sing a song about how bad the rest of us are at singing. Then everybody wins.
So what's our next topic?
so, I was gonna make a nice segue about, speaking of friends.
Oh, I thought it was going to be about PolyCast the musical. Well, fine.
Oh, well. We'll get that PolyCast after the music. Behind the music.
Oh, God.
More Creature Boy. Good time.
Yeah, this is another thread by Creature Boy. So yay, not just one, but even 2. No poll on this. I'm sorry, Dan. But so he says, so I got my girlfriend to install Civ 4 on her computer, and I want to help her out playing the complex game. I have some questions about how I should help her out. Should I introduce her to this forum? Number 2, should I teach her orally or hands-on?
I read that earlier. It's like, oh my god. I think he should have said verbally. That would have.
What he was going for, orally was the right choice for what he was going for.
Okay, number 3. If I teach her hands-on, should it be on single player or multiplayer? Thanks. Alright, so I have some things to say about this thread. I think that some of the guys who play Civilization on Civ Fanatics are freaking jerks, man. Like, okay, not jerks, but just, this thread is getting kind of, uncomfortable for me. Although, some other people did point out that it was a little bit sexist. But yeah, there's just, I think the first page is pretty much filled with, like, lewd jokes about this. And of course I'm a fan of lewd jokes, but, I wanted to talk about this post from the perspective of somebody who's like taught a couple people to, well, more like forced a couple people to play Civ 4. And I've always found that it's, I feel like the point of playing Civ 4 with your significant other is to play it together. I don't really see the point of, having somebody play a game that you like if you're not going to do it with them. It really depends. I mean, I hope that you're a good judge of your own personality, because if you know that you're not, a person that's really patient or just somebody that's not a great teacher, I wouldn't recommend doing it, because, it can ruin relationships. Not like Warcraft or anything, but it can. And,
Risk.
Risk does it differently, Dan. It's not a time investment problem. That's something else entirely.
I think that from asking people who have taught, like, they have told me that it is more useful for them if I'm just sitting beside them and teaching them verbally how to play Civ, and just kind of pointing out things to do, some keys that they can take and what to pick, that sort of thing. Of course, it is possible just to teach them how to do it on the forums, but I mean, if you're, playing the game for the sole purpose of, you're playing together, and the only reason, they're playing it is because of you, then I don't see why you couldn't, just sit beside them while they play, or, even play on different computers facing each other. There's no reason why Civ has to be a lonely experience.
So you're saying go for the hands-on approach? That's the way I always liked going.
Verbal. Shut up.
Obviously, like a joke thread. It's a joke thread.
No, it's not. It's not.
Well, I think it's a serious post. Even if you don't think it's a serious post, we can turn it into a serious post and just ignore the.
That's true.
Yeah. I think it's actually most useful when you let the other person play by themselves. Don't actually like take the mouse away from them, but let them play by themselves and just kind of sit by them and tell them what to do. And pretty much every time I've done that, I'll just sit there for like a half an hour or an hour, and then I'll just leave them alone and do something else, and I'll come back like 5 hours later, and and they'll still be playing it. So I guess it works.
Yes, it's funny. That's how sometimes if I've played something and my mom wants to try and play it, I'll sit there for the first half an hour or an hour, but then I can usually leave her alone to go about her own devices and poking around with it. Don't make a joke out of that, Phil.
No, I'm done for the moment. So I could play like simultaneous turns and watch what they're doing too. Then that would allow you to give input without actually interrupting gameplay.
Yeah.
Yeah, the initial kind of sit down and being beside and then leaving them to their own device. And then I think afterwards, like when he's talking about should it be single player or multiplayer, have it be single player. Maybe you want to like show her like you yourself showing the interface, showing you like just, okay, this is where this is where that is. Get them in front of the computer. Okay, now you go here, you click on this, you click on that. So they start to get the feel of them actually doing it. And there was the comment, an on-topic comment from Xanax that says, you teach her as much hands-off as you can. You playing the game for her will actually slow her down, and that she will try to play as you instead of learning what to do, or I could say what to do for herself, because your play style, even if you're going towards the same end victory, or you think that's the same end victory, you can go about that in different ways, and that's one of the great things about the Civilization series. So then once they're comfortable with that, go away for a while, and then as far as multiplayer goes, be it a hot seat or even actually over a network or even online, you could have multiplayer, if not a competitive match, that may be a little farther down the road, a cooperative match, which could include being on a team. And yes, no, being on a team skews certain things, but particularly in terms of, okay, so now you can see how I'm managing my cities, what it is that I'm building, where I'm settling, what my workers are doing. We talk about research priorities, where the other AIs are or is, depending upon how many you have. Start talking about, the diplomacy system and the interactions, when to go to war, are you trying to take a city, are you trying to pillage, those combination of things. And then Farm Boy, basic strategy for making someone new enjoy the game. Play to them, entertain them, not you. So you make it about them, and then when they're comfortable with themselves, then reintroduce you and then start playing together. I think that's a good way to go. Whether it's a significant other, whether it's a friend or a family member.
Yeah, I think we've done something like that a couple times on Saturday, I think when we first started playing, where we would have teams and it'd be somebody who was really good like Phil and then somebody like me who's kind of middling. But now I can look in his cities and see what the heck he's doing. And sometimes you have to visually see it as it's going on to understand it better as opposed to a forum post, which, going back to number one, I would not tell them to come to the forums. That's just going to be too confusing because everybody has so many different opinions. Let them get a good hold of the game.
It was an accident, Mackie. I swear. I did not mean to Hermitage there.
I didn't build a Sistine Chapel to troll you, not at all.
Oh. I was just trying to deny the AI culture win.
Yes.
One thing to say about, playing with them on multiplayer is that it may or may not be a problem. I would just say put it on the lowest timer. Give them plenty of time because you don't want to put somebody on a blazing timer when they first start. Or alternatively, just turn off the freaking timer since there's only two of you.
Yeah, I was going to say, for a new person who's never done multiplayer before, no timer.
And definitely, cooperative. I mean, just playing against humans for the first time would be confusing as hell. And one last thing would be, if you are, playing for if you're introducing somebody to the game for the first time, I would recommend just, turning on the wonder animations and, the other animations that people who have been playing the game for a long time usually turn off. But I think it's, cooler to see the game that way, and it makes it come more alive for those people. I built the Sistine Chapel. Look at it build, that sort of thing.
Or my horses are fighting some other guys. No, go horses, go horses.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think it's fun, and people don't mind it, since it's their first time. They're not like, oh, why is this playing again?
And you can even actually, in doing this, you can even focus on, especially in the first game, not even trying to think about that you're going to finish a game towards a particular victory condition, but you could set kind of your own, like, custom victory conditions. Like starting off, okay, let's see, how are we going to get your city to a size 10 or something like that, or build X number of cities, or, once you get to this particular turn, you've gotten this far down the technology tree or something like that. And then once they're comfortable with that, then you could start working on a longer game, either in one sitting or in the save feature is great, right? Save, come back to it, save, come back to it. So, Creature Boy, we hope that, again, we have been helpful with some advice, and we hope that your girlfriend is still playing Civilization 4 with you. And I don't know what the rest of my sentence is going to be, but yeah, I'll just leave it at that. All of the downloadable content Civilization, or DLC Civilizations. We're not just talking about unique units. We're going to look at the entire Civilization and comparing them such as they've been released so far, the 5 that have been released so far, the one free one, which was Mongolia, and then the paid-for ones, Spain, Babylon, Polynesia, and the Incans, in a thread from CFC, and oh my, look at this. There's a poll with this thread, too.
It's a top X and a poll. It's Dan's favorite.
Oh my goodness.
Babylon is currently leading, followed by the Incans, and then Polynesia, then Mongolia, and then Spain. And just for you, Lisa, I did do a top 5 ranking for this one.
Oh, thank you.
Just for you. What I'm going to do, I'm not going to talk about, yes, we're going to talk about each civilization. I think that's natural in a discussion like this. But I'm just going to do the top 5 from 5 to 1, and then maybe we can finally get some of that hate mail that we've sought for so long.
Speak for yourself.
Yeah, for myself. Yes. Okay, so number 5, Spain. 4, Inca. 3, Mongolia. 2, Polynesia. Number 1, Babylon.
Boo.
Are you serious, or is that just for the sake of booing?
Well, I really like Mongolia in general. Not necessarily from a strict, these are the best civ in the game type things, but I just think Mongolia is really cool, so they're number 1 in my heart.
They're the best civs in the game? Really?
What?
I don't know. Wait, what did you say?
I like they're number 1 in my heart, Lisa, in my heart. Mongolia is really cool.
Well, good for your heart.
Yes, he's not talking about logic or reasoning here. He's talking about emotion.
Well, this is favorite, not best, right? Did I misread it?
Podcast.
Sorry, what's this about the podcast? Or we missed that.
Yeah, it's favorite DLC Civilization. It's not best DLC Civilization. It doesn't say that.
No, yeah, it's what's your favorite. That's true.
And a lot of people just pick their favorite because they think one's good. They're like, oh, this civ gives me a fast, free, great scientist. They're awesome. I love this civ. But, that's whatever. Mongolia's got some cool history, so I picked Mongolia. They're my favorite.
All right. Well, when we're talking about the downloadable content, then Phil, what's your top 5? You got Mongolia at the top. I'm putting you on the spot now. So see what you've done.
Oh, I didn't have them top 5 listed all the way.
Oh, well, okay. So, then why is Mongolia in your heart of hearts at number 1?
Because he is the Mongols, Dan. Haven't you watched him play?
Yeah, my playstyle matches the Mongols.
He loves horse archer rushes.
No, not just that, though. They're aggression in general, the Mongols are.
Yes, exactly. Phil's favorite way to win, warring you to death. Mongols' favorite way to win, warring you to death.
They did also have the longest contiguous land empire ever, though, so there's that.
And the Khan's unit is pretty cool, because it's a great general that's actually even more useful than a normal great general.
I actually read up on their history, and a lot of it's interesting, but not relevant for PolyCast, unfortunately, so that's for another time. But that would be my answer, actually, Dan. I think their history is a lot more interesting than people give it credit for, and that they actually did more from a civilization standpoint than people give them credit for. So, we'll leave it at that.
Well, let's talk about, since we're already on Actually, while you're talking about Mongolia, why don't we go by the poll then in terms of the order that we talk about? We'll talk about the one that everyone's favorite on the poll, which happens also to be mine here, which is Babylon. It also happens to be, I think, in alphabetical order too, which is interesting. So what do we have with Babylon? Receive a free Great Scientist when you discover writing. Earn Great Scientists at double the usual rate. Why don't we start with that? It's called the Ingenuity advantage. The Great Scientist when you discover writing. What a way to get a free technology and get you farther down the path to whatever it is, that victory condition that you're going for. And also earning Great Scientists at double the usual rate. I mean, more tech. And then, of course, you've got the unique unit is the Bowman Archer. Oh, that's kind of redundant. The Bowman, which means the Archer. I caught it.
It's Archer Man.
Oh, yeah.
Poacher.
Just like wet rain. Yeah, great.
Arrowed.
Got arrowed, son.
So, with this here, it's the Bowman is 6 combat strength as compared to 4 with the standard Archer, and the ranged combat is 8 as opposed to 6 with the standard Archer, and of course comes with the archery technology for some reason. I don't know.
Weird.
Well, yeah, isn't that weird? And then the Walls of Babylon, which is a cheaper wall that is 7.5 strength as compared to 5, but that's kind of peripheral to me, actually, the Walls of Babylon. It's more about the Great Scientist and the Bowman, or Bowmen if you build more than one, which I assume you would. Anything else on Babylon? Or did we cover it already? Wow.
Yeah,
They're really effective.
I said it all. Okay. Continue just alphabetically here. The Inca. Units ignore terrain costs when moving into any tile with hills. No maintenance costs for improvement in hills. Half cost elsewhere. The unique unit is the Slinger, which is the Archer replacement. Here it gets 6 ranged combat and can also withdraw before a melee attack. And what I think is interesting about the Inca is their other unique is a terrain improvement, which, unless I've had a big brain fart here, there is no other civilization that has a unique terrain improvement. And this is the Terrace Farm, which yields +1 food, and if you have a nearby mountain, gives you another +1 food, which I imagine in the chat has described as the best all-around DLC, quote-unquote, and I could certainly see the argument for that. Oh, yes, thank you. Yes, Polynesia, right, the Maui statues, of course.
I guess because they didn't put terraces as an improvement because they didn't want to give us the broken terrace granaries from Civ 4. Here's some food. Here's some culture, too, while we're at it.
I don't see how that's necessarily broken.
No, it wasn't.
I think it was
one of the better unique buildings, but it was not.
I exaggerate.
I'm not even convinced that it was necessarily. Well, I'm not sure. I would probably still put like the Akonda ahead of it, for example. But yeah, we're getting away from topic, so.
I think Inca's greatest advantage gets back to it's just the civilization ability itself, about the units ignoring terrain costs when improving any tile with hills. No maintenance costs for improvement of tiles, half cost elsewhere. I'm not belittling the Slinger or the Terrace Farm in any way, but it's the terrain cost when it comes to the issue that really gets my attention. And then who comes after that alphabetically? Gosh, do I know my alphabet? Mongolian Terror, we've already talked about the Khan! I also had to do that. Combat strength plus 30% when fighting city-state units or attacking a city-state itself. All mounted units have the +1 movement. To me, it's the second part of that sentence. But there are certainly situations where actually fighting a city-state or attacking a city-state itself, of course, is fun. And maybe even warranted, depending upon particular circumstances. And then there is also the Keshik, the knight replacement, which has increased movement, 5/2, just like, hey, that's how fast the cons can move as well. And what else is its, is it range combat, or is it combat that's also increased over the knight? Oops.
Knights don't usually have range.
Oh, yes, thank you. There's where I'm getting tripped up. There's the ranged combat from the Keshik, which is 13 strength. Oh, Polynesia, which in the chat Imagine noted. Just going to scroll up to the two map specific. It is definitely map specific for a lot of it here. I'm going to read directly. Can embark and move over oceans immediately. +1 sight when embarked. Plus 10% combat strength bonus if within 2 tiles of a Maui statue. So the Maui statue, which itself yields +1 culture, which is great for those potentially otherwise useless tiles. And the Maui warrior, which there is a 10% combat penalty for other units that are adjacent to it. So to me, obviously, and I ranked number 2 in terms of it being my favorite. Can you tell I've been playing some more water-based maps recently? That they can embark and move over the oceans immediately. And then that leaves us with Spain, which Imagine talks about the ching ching, as in other words, the money, money, money. The 7 Cities of Gold, a gold bonus for discovering a natural wonder, bonus enhanced at first to discover it. Side note, El Dorado. And also there's a culture and a happiness, and tile yields from natural wonders are doubled. Its unique unit is the Terrico. I think I'm pronouncing that properly. The Musketman replacement. Costs a little more, but you get more in terms of combat strength out of it. 18 as opposed to 16. It also has a 100% bonus versus mounted. And then another knight replacement, the Conquistador with +2 extra sight, as well as the embarkation defense as well, which given what's the quote unquote normal civ that has that ability? I'm drawing a blank. The Songhai, thank you, Mesh. The Songhai, so puts it on par with that. So that's the end of the DLC civs that have been released to date. There are more coming, we have been told, so we may have to revisit this list.
Call in today. In North America, the number is 301-637-7659.
That's 301-637-POLY.
In Europe, 44121-288-7659. That's 44121-288-POLY.
You can Skype us at the PolyCast or email us at thepolycast@gmail.com.
The only thing worse than being talked about is not being talked about.
For more information on PolyCast,
our sibling shows ModCast and RevCast,
or about PolyCast in general,
log on to the series' official website at
thepolycast.net.
This has been PolyCast, episode 116. We have been joined today by our 4 regular co-hosts. First of all, DanQ.
Lose not many things once, lose one thing many times.
Makahlua.
Nap time.
TheMeInTeam.
Taking the hands-on approach every time.
And me, QNL. Have a good day, everybody. Also, let me read out the names of the people that I'm pissed off at. Rifling Joe. Come on.
Lisa's really alright here.
Wow.
Manfred Bellham. Wag of the finger to you. Paradigm Shifter. Hey, I know you. Bad boy. Don't do that again. And I think that's it. Yeah, bad people. You guys are...
No biscuit.
No biscuit. No bueno.
I'm glad the comment did this thread quickly.
Oh dear.
Apparently I wasn't paying enough attention on episode 100.
That's okay. You were busy making a list of people you wanted to chastise. Lisa's making a list and checking it twice, and you don't want to be on this one.
A lump of coal for me.
But not in game, though, because then that's strategic resource.
That's good for you, yeah.
Record date April 16th, 2011.
Civilization 4 and Civilization 5 sound clips copyright Take-Two Interactive. Copyright Civilized Communication at civcom.net.